Hello everyone and welcome to my first YouTube video. First we are going to prime the eye with the MAC Soft Ochre. This is really good for cancelling out any redness in the eye, and it also gives something for the eyeshadow to stick to. Just blending that out with my finger. Then taking a fluffy brush, I'm going to use this peachy shade in the Kat Von D Lighten Shade palette to set that into place. I'm using a Morphe M511 brush to do that. You can buy Morphe from Cult Beauty or beautybay.com. They're really good brushes with affordable prices. Then I'm going to take this peachy shade on the same brush and blend that into the crease. This hasn't got to be too precise. This is just going to be our first transition colour. I'm going back and forth on the crease to make sure there's no harsh lines, taking it up to the brow. On a Morphe M513 brush, I'm going to take this reddish brown colour and I'm going to put that on my crease. I'm going back and forth to blend that out, but not taking it up as high as that first colour. What I'll do is I'll put the colour down first and then I'll blend it out. And what I like to do is go on the outer V, so we can wing that out just to make the eyes more open. Next I'm going to take this neutral brown shade, focusing more in the cut of the crease, making sure I don't take the product too high because we don't want to go over that reddish brown colour. For this I'm using a Morphe M433 brush, which is slightly smaller than the M513 which we used before. It just gives a nice transition from the red to the brown. Going back in with that original brush, I'm going to take that peachy shade again. Just going to blend the edges so there's no harsh lines. Again, winging it out on the side. Next, for the lid colour, I'm going to pack on this chocolate brown all over the lid. I'm using a MAC 239 brush, which I highly recommend for packing on product. I'm just going to place that all over the eye, but not going up too high on the eyelid because we are going to blend that out. These eyeshadows literally just blend themselves, so you haven't got to do much work. Again, with a fluffy brush, I'm just going to blend the edges out so there's no harsh lines as before. Again, winging it out on the side, on the outer V. Okay, now we're on to the face. I'm going to prime my face with the Becca Backlight Priming Filter. This is a luminous primer, which is really good for under matte foundations or any thicker foundations, so you don't lose your luminosity. For foundation, I'm using the Dior Skin Forever in shade 030. I'm going to blend that in with a beauty blender, which again you can get from Cult Beauty or Beauty Bay, also Space NK sell beauty blenders. I'm using pouncing, not dragging motions to buff that into the skin. Because we don't want to move the product, we literally just want to pat it into the skin. Once you're happy that it's all blended into the skin, we're going to go on to concealing. I'm using the NARS Soft Matte Concealer in the shade Custard. This is a new favourite of mine. You haven't even got to set it, it kind of just sets itself, but I'll set it anyway. But if you have dry skin, you don't need to set it at all. I'm taking that under the eyes so you can see any dark circles. And I'm also going to use a brush. This is a MAC foundation brush, just to put it on my chin, forehead, just because these are my oily parts. Just making sure that's all blended. To set that in place, I'm using the Laura Mercier translucent powder. If you've got oily skin, I highly recommend this powder. It's a lifesaver. I'm just going to empty some of the product onto the lid and take in a MAC brush. I don't know what this MAC brush is because the name's worn off now, but I'm just going to set that under the eyes. Just to make sure there's no creasing, and it also blurs out any pores, which is always good. Because I take that down my smile lines as well, because usually I crease there, and on the forehead is where I get most oily. For bronzing, my favourite part, I'm using the Hourglass Diffuse Bronze Light with my Tom Ford bronzing brush. This brush is my favourite brush of life. It's so worth the money. I think it's about £82, but I haven't had any other bronzing brushes that apply bronzer like this one. I'm running along the cheekbones and on the temples and under the chin, just to give a natural sun-kissed look. To define the cheekbones even more, I'm going to use the Kevin Aucoin Sculpting Powder in medium with a MAC 100 brush, I think it is. Just going to take that on the temples to make sure it's all blended out. And as it's my first YouTube video, I'm even going to contour my nose. I never contour my nose, but I thought, why not? I'm just using, this is just an eyeshadow blending brush. Just taking it down the edge of the nose and also up towards the brow. And along the tip. For blush, I'm using one of my favourite products. This is the Becca Luminous blush in the shade Tiger Lily. It's a beautiful peachy orange shade. I thought I'd use it before summer's actually over. I'm using a Morphe M5 Frio brush to do this. It's just a perfect size for blush. I bring it up on the temples as well, just to give a more blended effect. Now for the favourite step of all time, highlight. This is the Heatwave highlight by Estee Lauder. This is a beautiful gold highlight, and I'm going to take that on I think this is a Morphe, I think highlight brush. I'm going to take that on the cheekbones, temples, down the nose and Cupid's bow, in other words everywhere. I definitely need better lighting because you can't really see it as well as you can in person, but this is a blinding highlight if you like that kind of thing. Back to the eyes, using a flat shader brush. This is the Sigma E15 brush. I'm taking the same shades we used in the crease under the eyes. The shader brush gives a more defined look, and then we can blend that out later. Kind of disappearing off camera here. I'm going to focus the darker brown on the outer corner. Again, gives more definition to the outer V of the eye. Then taking the reddish brown colour again, I'm using a Morphe smudger brush to blend that all out. I also connect it towards my upper half of my eye to make sure it's all blended and connected. To make sure everything's even more blended, I'm going to take just a fluffy brush with that peachy shade again, just running it under the eye. I'm just going to go off camera and apply some mascara and lashes, and I'm back. I'm just replacing that highlight where we used the Estee Lauder Heatwave in the inner corner of my eye to make me look more awake, and on the brow bone. And again, I'm going to blend that out just to make sure there's no harsh lines. The eyelashes are not my favourite. I've used them a few times, so they kept pinging off, which is not good. So I'm going to take my MAC Technical liner in the shade Graph Black and making attractive facial expressions. I'm going to put that in my waterline and also tight lining with this. Never used a tight line, but I found it makes a world of difference. Now onto lips. I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk liner to line my lips ready for the lipstick. This is just a beautiful, just a natural lip colour. Tip as well, if you keep going over the Cupid bow, just gives you an extra dimension there, so you can build it up to make your lips look more fuller. It's just more natural than actual overlining your lips. For lipstick, using one of my favourites, this is the Charlotte Tilbury in the shade Penelope Pink. It's a beautiful creamy nude colour and it lasts for hours. I love this colour. Just goes with every eye look as well. To add something extra, I'm going to top that all off with the Marc Jacobs gloss in the shade Pretty Thing. These are one of my favourite gloss formulas. They're not sticky, but they're really shiny and they smell of mint. Then to make sure everything lasts all day, I'm going to drown myself in the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. So that's the end of the video. Thanks everyone for watching my first YouTube video. Please like and subscribe and I'll see you next time. Thank you.